If you've been feeling more tired than usual, a little more forgetful, maybe a bit unsteady on your feet, you've probably blamed it on getting older. But here's what most people don't realize. One of the most common reasons for all three of those symptoms isn't aging at all. It's a simple vitamin deficiency that's found in as many as 1 out of every 10 people over 75, and most doctors say it's one of the most overlooked problems in people over 60. It's vitamin B12. And today, I'm going to walk you through the 10 warning signs your body may be sending you right now, some of them so subtle, you'd never connect them to a vitamin. Stay with me, because sign number 7 is the one most people never expect. Let me tell you about a patient I'll call Robert. 72 years old, active, sharp as a tack his whole life. Over about a year, he started noticing his hands felt funny, a little tingly, like pins and needles. He figured it was just his age. Then he started forgetting little things. Where he put his keys. What he walked into the kitchen for. He chalked that up to age 2. It wasn't until his daughter noticed he seemed a little unsteady walking to their mailbox that he finally came in for a checkup. One simple blood test later, we had our answer: his B12 levels were low. Not dangerously low, but low enough to explain everything he'd been feeling. If any of that sounds familiar, you're not alone. And that's exactly why we're talking about this today. Here's the simple explanation. Vitamin B12 doesn't just float into your bloodstream when you eat it. Your stomach has to release an acid, along with something called intrinsic factor, to actually pull B12 out of your food and absorb it. As we get older, our stomachs naturally produce less of that acid. Add in things like long-term use of certain heartburn medications, or the diabetes medication metformin, both very common after 60, and absorption drops even further. So even if you're eating plenty of meat, eggs, or dairy, your body may simply not be pulling the B12 out of it the way it used to. That's why this isn't about eating wrong. It's about absorption. And that's exactly why it sneaks up on people. Let's go through them. Doctors will tell you no single one of these proves a B12 deficiency, but if 2 or 3 sound familiar, it's worth asking your doctor for a simple blood test. Sign 1, fatigue that rest doesn't fix. Not just, I had a long day, tired, a deep, persistent tiredness that a good night's sleep doesn't touch. Sign 2, tingling or numbness in the hands and feet. B12 helps protect the coating around your nerves. When levels drop, nerves can misfire, causing that pins and needles feeling. Sign 3, balance problems or unsteady walking. This is the same nerve pathway issue, and it's one of the more serious signs, because it raises full risk. If you've noticed you feel less steady, please don't ignore it. Sign 4, memory lapses or brain fog. Struggling to find words, forgetting recent conversations, feeling mentally cloudy. Research has linked low B12 to reduced cognitive performance in older adults. Sign 5, mood changes. Increased irritability, anxiety, or a low mood that feels different from your normal self. B12 plays a role in producing brain chemicals tied to mood. Sign 6, pale or slightly yellow-tinged skin. This happens when B12 deficiency starts affecting red blood cell production. Sign 7, a sore, red, or unusually smooth tongue. This is the one most people never expect, but it's one of the classic early signs doctors look for, sometimes showing up before anything else. Sign 8, reduced appetite or unplanned weight loss. B12 deficiency can affect digestion and appetite, especially when it's tied to a condition called atrophic gastritis, which becomes more common with age. Sign 9, increased dizziness. Because B12 is involved in both nerve function and red blood cell production, low levels can leave you feeling lightheaded, especially when standing up. Sign 10, vision changes. Less common, but in more advanced cases, B12 deficiency can affect the optic nerve and cause blurry or disturbed vision. Here's a mistake I see often: people hear B12 deficiency and assume it just means eat more meat. But if your issue is absorption, not diet, eating more won't necessarily fix it. That's why many doctors recommend B12 in its crystalline form, found in fortified foods and most supplements. This form doesn't require stomach acid to be absorbed the same way food-based B12 does, which is part of why it's often recommended for older adults. This isn't medical advice for your specific situation, it's simply what the current research and organizations like Mayo Clinic point to as a general pattern. Your own path forward should always start with a blood test and a conversation with your doctor. If some of those 10 signs sounded familiar, here's what I'd suggest as a next step. First, don't panic, most cases are very treatable once identified. Second, ask your doctor for a simple blood test. It's quick, and it gives a clear answer instead of guessing. Third, if you take metformin or long-term acid-reducing medication, mention that to your doctor specifically, since both are linked to lower B12 absorption. And fourth, please don't stop or change any medication on your own. This is exactly the kind of thing to bring to your doctor, not decide alone. Let's move quickly through a few practical tips. 1. Foods naturally rich in B12 include eggs, fish, dairy, and fortified breakfast cereals. Include a few servings across your week. 2. If you follow a vegetarian or vegan diet, B12 deficiency risk is higher, since B12 mainly comes from animal foods. A fortified food or supplement is often worth discussing with your doctor. 3. The general recommended daily amount for adults is 2.4 micrograms, though your doctor may suggest more based on your blood work. 4. Symptoms can overlap with normal aging, which is exactly why testing, not guessing, is the safest path. 5. Deficiency develops slowly, often over months or years, so don't expect symptoms to appear overnight, and don't expect them to resolve overnight either. Here's what I want you to take away from today. If you've been feeling tired, foggy, unsteady, or just not quite yourself, it doesn't automatically mean something serious. But it also doesn't mean you should just accept it as getting older. A simple blood test can give you real answers. And if it turns out your B12 is low, this is one of the most manageable, well understood conditions in all of nutrition medicine. Small, guided changes, with your doctor's support, really can help you feel more like yourself again. You deserve to feel good in this stage of your life. If this video helped you understand your body a little better, consider subscribing. We cover topics just like this every week, built around real evidence and real care for people your age. Many seniors dismiss fatigue, tingling hands, memory fog, or balance issues as just getting older, but these can be signs of vitamin B12 deficiency, which affects up to 1 in 10 adults over 75. This video walks through 10 warning signs to watch for, explains why absorption, not just diet, becomes harder with age, and covers what steps to take next, including a simple blood test and questions to bring to your doctor. Presented in a warm, evidence-based tone for viewers 60 and older, the video avoids fear tactics and focuses on practical, doctor-guided next steps.